What is going on, Notre Dame football fans? I'm Tyler Horka. That's Jack Sobel with blueandgold.com, Blue and Gold Illustrated, here in sunny South Bend for the 6th day of Notre Dame football fall camp. And I'm here to answer the question, you are too, Jack, that every Notre Dame football fan has been wanting to know for a little over 24 hours now. Who is playing left tackle in the wake of Charles Jagusah's right pectoral injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's going to be Tosh Baker at left tackle. Basically what we expected after in the wake of Charles Jagusah's injury. It's Tosh Baker on the left side, Emil Wagner on the right side. The backups, Anthony Knapp on the left side. He's been working as a backup left tackle. They said Joe Rudolph said he's up to about 300 pounds. They like him a lot. On the right side, Ty Chan, the junior who had moved to guard back in the spring and early in the fall. They're giving him another shot at that right tackle spot. And what more can you tell us about that, Tyler?
Yeah, it was the perfect day to speak to Joe Rudolph. I know Notre Dame had this set up for a while, but obviously Jagusah, the news coming out on Monday, he went down with the injury on Saturday. We got to speak to Notre Dame's offensive line coach on Tuesday, so a pretty good timeline for us, and we got a lot of clarification. Emil Wagner feels very confident and secure in himself on the right side of that line. So there was really no thought in Joe Rudolph's mind that, hey, I'm going to move Emil Wagner over to the left. I know a lot of people on the blueandgold.com message board were thinking, well, if Emil Wagner was probably going to win the competition, which he was taking the first team reps over Tosh Baker for the first 5 days of fall camp, then why wouldn't we just move him over to the left side of the offensive line? And Joe Rudolph said today, he doesn't pigeonhole players into, hey, the left tackle position is more important than the right tackle position, so I'm going to put our better guy over there. He believes that if Emil Wagner's playing good football on the right side of the line, he would just leave them there. Tosh Baker's been here for 5 or 6 years now. He's played on the left side of the line. He started games. Before there was Joe Alt, there was Tosh Baker at left tackle for Notre Dame. So obviously Tosh Baker has to get to a little bit of a heightened level of play over there if Notre Dame's going to feel good about itself. Charles Jagusah was trending that way, but Tosh Baker is going into a situation that he's been in before and having to play on that left side of the line. So you have those two guys. And then another thing that Rudolph said that was interesting, Jack, and I want to get your comments on this as well. Anthony Knapp, if you remove Charles Jagusah from the tackle equation, it seems like he's the third guy now. If Emil Wagner went down on the right side, I think Anthony Knapp is playing right tackle. If Tosh Baker doesn't cut it on the left side, and I'll get to that in a moment as well, I think Anthony Knapp's going to play left tackle for this football team too.
Yeah, I think the freshman everybody expected to jump in and get a chance to play early, including us as reporters, was Gerby Lambert from Massachusetts. Just a mountain of an individual, but summer enrollee. Looks like a summer enrollee so far in camp. I think they want him to get his legs under him. He's physically ready to go, for sure. But they want him to get a few practice reps before they consider that. Anthony Knapp, though, enrolled in the spring, looked really good. He had like my favorite rep of anyone in the Blue Gold game. Threw Jalen Sneed to the ground, I think, on the touchdown pass from Kenny Minchie to Micah Gilbert. Got a high five from Marcus Freeman, who was standing behind the play afterwards. They like him a lot, and he's a guy who they think that can flip to either side, like you said. And also, again, Joe Rudolph said he's up to near 300 pounds. He's physically ready to go, too. I will say that, kind of expanding on that left tackle, right tackle thing, the old school way of thinking is like left tackle, more athletic, better pass protection, right tackle, bigger, mauler. That isn't really a thing anymore. So that was kind of based on, the whole blindside thing, the quarterback where he can't see is protected. That's not really as important anymore, as I think a loose emoji board commenter pointed out. Like, no one's doing 5 or 7 step drops anymore. If you're going under center as play action, no one's really going under center anymore either. So it really doesn't make too much of a difference who's on the left and who's on the right. Neither is really narrowed, like pigeonholed, like Joe Rudolph said. Also, what's much more important is where guys are comfortable. And Joe Rudolph said, like, Emil Wagner has only played right tackle at Notre Dame. He is, for whatever reason, much more comfortable, with the movements on that side than he is on the left. Why would you move Emil Wagner? And I think that's the logic Notre Dame took.
Yeah, there's obviously two sides of that coin. So there's going to be people watching this saying, okay, if you're not pigeonholing, then why wouldn't you just move Wagner anyway? And you just answered that question. Joe Rudolph answered that question for us earlier today. Emil Wagner is comfortable on the right side of the offensive line. Emil Wagner is going to stay on the right side of the offensive line. So just a couple of notes from those guys in practice today. A lot of run blocking drills and individual drills, so didn't get a whole lot, but Joe Rudolph was on everybody, particularly picked on Ty Chan and Sullivan Absher in a certain run blocking rep and said, do this again. They got it right that time. So a lot of that with the offensive line. When the offense started to do some 11-on-0 tempo, just drive down the field on air, It got to a point where Riley Leonard was trying to do some hard counts with the clapping, and Tosh Baker moved the first time that he did one of those claps. It was a premature move. Would have been a false start in an actual game. I think that's just being unfamiliar with being over there. I mean, he spent 5 days doing this on the right side of the line, Jack, and then he has to move over. That's that comfortability thing. Yeah. I think he will get to that point, as I was saying earlier, though, because he's been over there before. Just give him really not even a week, a couple practices, and he'll probably be fine. So that's the update on the Notre Dame offensive line. The rest of those guys are working in their normal positions. Won't even have to say their name. Go to blueandgold.com. We got a little depth chart in our offensive update today for the offensive line. Quarterbacks started to throw some routes on air into the end zone today, and that was another meticulous thing where I said Joe Rudolph wanted to get everything down with the offensive line, and go read that on blueandgold.com too. Some of the verbiage that he was using, he's saying, hey, we have to do it this way. Mike Denbrock was doing it the same way with quarterbacks and wide receivers, saying, hey, there might not be Benjamin Morrison out here trying to cover you right now, Bo Collins, but get to that corner as if he was. And Riley Leonard, throw that ball to the back pylon as if Jaden Mickey was trying to jump up and intercept a pass. So some good things there. I thought the tight ends particularly, they were running some corner routes. Mitchell Evans is looking like he's ready to play at Texas A&M right now. Jack, there's another guy that said he's ready to play at Texas A&M right now, but he's been nursing something. That's on the defensive side of the ball. What do you have for us there?
Yeah, Howard Cross III told us after practice that he tweaked his hamstring during the summer. He's going to be fine. He made it clear that, he is on track to play against Texas A&M, but Notre Dame is holding him out of practice a little bit, or a lot of it, I would say, at least from what we saw today. But again, Cross is being held out because A, Notre Dame is being extra cautious because and B, it's his sixth fall camp. He made sure to make that clear as well. He should be fine, barring any setbacks. Elsewhere on defense, they were working on their spear personnel package, with the Aztec third safety position, that 3-2-6 formation that they like to run on passing downs. An interesting drill I saw, when the linebackers, defensive line were doing their thing, the DBs were doing their thing. Adon Shuler, Jaden Osbury, and Teddy Rizak were doing a drill together, and it's because, especially, Shuler, Rizak's probably a redshirt guy right now, but Shuler and Osbury right now, they play the same position in that dime package, and it's that Aztec safety position. The safety who lines up closer to the line of scrimmage will often blitz, will often drop back into underneath coverage. That's what they're working on today. Really, really important spot, but I think it's really interesting that they think Shuler and Osbury kind of have skill sets that would both fit that position. I thought that was super interesting there.
I think they're both. They can speed rush, but they can also hit. They have some and they can cover too, like you said. Mm-hmm. They can drop back into coverage. Very interesting personnel. I think both of those guys are on their way to breaking out. Some other guys who are probably on their way to breaking out. We talked to defensive line coach Al Washington today. Everything that we've been saying about Boubacar Traore, he kind of echoed his statements there when we were talking to him. He's really kind of come up, and I think he is that number 2 Viper right now. Interesting comment from Al Washington, and then I'll kick it to you for some things that you might have heard that I did not in the interview session. Al Washington came back from a summer vacation, and he walked into the IAC, and there was a player-led workout going on, and he was just kind of observing from afar because obviously he did not want to get in the middle. You're not supposed to get in the middle of all that. And later on that day, he was saying, he asked somebody, hey, who was that guy out there that was doing this and that? It was Jordan Botelho, who apparently, Jack, you were watching the defense the first week of fall camp, and I noticed this a little bit today, especially when he walked up those stairs to come talk to us. Slimmer, but also as strong as he's ever been. So that combination, I think, you're looking to get sacks. You're looking to get after the quarterback. You're looking to win some battles that maybe he was not able to win last year. I think Al Washington thinks that Jordan Botelho is going to do that this year. Some things from the interview session, some of the guys you talked to. I know you talked to Howard Cross for quite a bit, maybe some offensive linemen that I didn't talk to. Anything stick out?
So I wanted to echo the point about Botelho in that, he has lost weight. That's what he told us, that he has gotten stronger. I think turning those pressures into sacks is a big point of emphasis for the Notre Dame defensive line. I think that someone asked Howard Cross about where's the next step for this pass rush group, and for himself in particular, it's like he said there were a few pressures that he didn't finish, and he wishes he turned into sacks. He led the team in pressures, only 2.5 sacks. Now, I will also say that pressures are much more consistent year to year than sacks. A lot of people would argue that sacks are a little bit of a random event, and that pressures are much more indicative of pass rush prowess. That may be, but sacks are also much more effective in terms of stonewalling an offense. And what I gained from that comment from Washington about Botelho and Cross's comments is like it's a big emphasis, like turn those pressures into sacks. I think we're going to see a lot of that from Notre Dame this year. On Boubacar Traore, I saw an interesting, the defensive line linebackers are working their pass rush groupings, kind of some funky third down packages. Traore lined up as in like a wide 9 set next to Bryce Young on his side. Bryce Young was getting some reps with the twos in some of those pass rush packages. He had a rep where he was lined up with Josh Burnham and Junior Tuihalamaka. They're going to use all those, second team defensive ends, edge rushers there. The other interesting thing I saw, we mentioned Botelho and Cross. We saw this pass rush package last year as well, but it's Botelho kind of in the B gap next to Cross in the A gap, kind of to Cross's left. Cross shoots the B gap, Botelho loops around to the A. I think we're going to see that a ton from Notre Dame this year as well.
Yeah, to recap everything that Jack just said right there, Al Washington was asked, hey, how many people can play for y'all in a game? And he said, how many do we have? 11, 12? How many are on scholarship? Because you might see all of them. So I do think that there are some guys like Brennan Vernon who are just still a little bit behind in development and whatnot. A name that I will close out this conversation with, though, is Armel Mukam has come on, and he's taking some second-team reps. And the way that Riley Mills talked about him today and the way that Al Washington talked about him today is that there's just something that has clicked physically, mentally. He's ready to play and play big, meaningful reps for Notre Dame. So watch out for Armel Mukam. If another Gabriel Rubio situation happens where Donovan Heinisch can't play or Jason Anya can't play, because those are the two guys that you're looking at with the twos behind Riley Mills and Howard Cross, I think Armel Mukam is knocking on that door. So very interesting situation there. Jack, I am literally dripping sweat out here outside of Notre Dame Stadium. So the next time that you'll see us in this capacity will be Saturday, I believe. We only have a couple more of these opportunities left. So definitely check out everything that we have to offer here. Go to blueandgold.com because we have so much more coverage of Notre Dame fall camp there. So I'm Tyler Horka. That's Jack Sobel. We are blueandgold.com, Blue and Gold Illustrated.